Hello everybody, in this video I have a mixed media art journal process to share with you. This one is going to be my more sort of vintagey style, my usual thing, rather than the past couple of art journal videos I've had which have been more bright and colourful and stuff. But yes, this is more my preferred vintagey style. You may also notice it's the last couple of pages in this art journal, but it won't be the end of me using it because there's some pages in the front I haven't used, and also some pages where I had sort of slapped some paint on, leftover paint and stuff, so I need to go back and do something to those. I'm doing my usual prep for my pages, putting masking tape up the centre so that no paints or anything go through, and then a layer of gesso. You may have seen as well, there's actually a little pocket in the back of this. It's because it's just a little notebook. It's not actually an official art journal or anything, and a lot of notebooks of that style and size, kind of like, the Leuchtturm kind of style. It's not actually a Leuchtturm, but that kind of thing. They often have a pocket at the back. And I was a bit confused as to what to do with it, but I've decided just to keep it as it is. And the pocket is usable, so I haven't painted directly over it. I'm not going to do anything with it in this video, but I can use it later on to put like a tag in or something like that. We'll wait and see. Anyways, while the gesso was drying, I went and pulled some bits and pieces out that I felt like using. I pulled out that Maramy Small Art paper set. I can't remember what it's called. Oh yeah, the Antiquario paper set. I pulled a page out of there and also cut a little title. And then I also have these scraps of rice paper flowers. I ripped those up. I always use a water brush to rip them exactly where I want to. So you just paint on the rice paper. It's the same tissue paper, collage paper, whatever. Paint water where you want to rip, and it will rip so much easier, fall apart in your hands basically. It makes your life so much easier. So I've got all those little flowers there. I've cut the door. I used a tearing ruler or a decal edge ruler to tear the edges of those instead of cutting it, so you have that nice edge. The window was a bit too small to do that, so I did fussy cut that, and I'm going to distress the edges of that a little bit later on so it kind of matches the door. Some of the white gesso on the pages was still a little bit wet, so I was able to put those flowers down and use clear gesso over the top of those to stick or decoupage them down. Where the gesso had dried underneath, I'm going to use the clear gesso underneath as well, trimming around the edges for where bits stick out. And then I'm going to stick down my door and window with some 3D gloss gel medium. What I'm using to paint, quote unquote, paint the gel medium on those is one of those silicone brushes things. Prima do like a proper art version, but these are the ones, they're for makeup. I think they're for like putting clay masks or something on your face, but they are so good for craft and mixed media, and they are so much cheaper than the Prima silicone brushes, so really recommend getting some of those. They're really, really handy to have. I wanted to add a bit of stenciling, of course. I am using Distress Crackle Paste, and this stencil is a Tim Holtz one with a really fine sort of damask pattern on. I left the crackle paste and the medium to glue down the doors and stuff overnight to dry, and then I came straight back to do some colouring. To colour it, I'm using at first, this is Dina Wakley Gloss Spray in the colour, where's my list, Apricot. And I'm kind of using it as a bit of a watercolour. I'm adding a bit of colour with my brush. I'm not using the spray function at all. Spraying a bit of water, letting it move around the stenciling and stuff. After that, I'm going to go in. I'm going to dry that with the heat tool first, and then I'm going to go in with some Distress Oxide Spray in Iced Spruce and do the same thing then, using my paintbrush, acting as though it is a paint rather than a spray bottle. So while I'm adding this colour, I thought I would sort of acknowledge the fact that I haven't been around for a few weeks. You may or may not have noticed. Just life, really. I had a bit of a flare-up of my illness. I've been really, really busy with the shop and other life stuff, and YouTube is, I'm not saying it's the very bottom of the list of priorities, but there are a few more things that are above it on the list of priorities, if you know what I mean. I'm not disappearing on you or anything like that. I know, isn't it so annoying when YouTubers just disappear and they're gone for like 6 months or a year and they don't say anything? I'm not saying they owe you anything, it's just like, where have you gone? What happened to you? I loved your channel, and then they just disappear. And yeah, so I have no plans to do that. If I did, I would tell you, but just every so often, a couple of weeks, I have to disappear to sort out other life priorities, as it were. Things are kind of getting back on track. I'm not making any promises, but there we go. For any of you wondering, there you go, there is the information. I have pretty much finished my colouring, I think now. I think so. I kept going back with the different colours. I thought once I'd added that ice spruce, which is basically a grey, a very bluey grey, I'd covered up too much of the apricot, so I dried that, added a bit more apricot. I know some of you might be going, why are you adding grey? But I love the colour depth that it adds. I think it's really, really nice. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Here I am going back in with the apricot to add a little bit more of that colour. It wasn't really to lighten it up, it was to add more of the colour itself, and I'm really happy with those colours I chose. I like the way that looks. Anyways, after this I wanted to add stamping because the compulsion, I have to add stamping. I'm using a Kaisercraft stamp here, which is, I think it's called fence, like wooden fence or something, but it also looks a little bit like an old brick wall, like a really, large brick wall, so you can kind of make it work for both. So I'm using that and some Stays On Stone Grey ink, and then I'm going to go in with a much smaller stamp. I nearly said stencil then, and I may have accidentally said stencil earlier. If I did, whoops, never mind. I'm going to go back with this little stamp here. It's a little cheapo one. It has scripty writing and like some typing writing as well. A mix of things, vintagey style, general, something like that. Just a cheapo stamp from eBay. And then I'm going to bring in that something to remember title, but I thought it needed something like behind it or near it to help it be more of a focal point. I've fussy cut these flowers. They were from a Marry Me Small Art freebie that came with one of my orders, going around the edges of everything with Distress Oxide in Tattered Rose. And I had this little scrap from either cutting out the window or the door, and I thought it would make quite a nice base to put that title on. So again, I've distressed the edges with a distress tool and then also added the Tattered Rose. I was going to add one of the flowers behind the title, but then I changed my mind and thought they would look better in a little cluster at the bottom corner of that door, and decided to fussy cut some little butterflies and a moth. I think this is from the Minte Papers Wings fussy cutting book. I thought a butterfly or, a flappy thing, dragonfly, moth, whatever, would look better perched on the title as I'm doing there. And then two more to balance it out around the page in general. Someone's making a funny noise downstairs, so sorry if you can hear that. Once all my little bits and pieces are glued down, again with the 3D gloss gel medium, I'm going to add many, 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 many splatters. I did get a little splatter happy, a little bit carried away. I am using Distress Oxide spray in Antique Linen and in Tattered Rose, and yeah, going all over the place with those splatters. I just thought it looked cute, and it's a messy kind of page with all sorts of bits everywhere, and I thought it worked with the page. But anyway, yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching as always. Links down in the description box. Please leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Chat to me down in the comments. I know I've only been away for not even 2 weeks, but I have missed everybody. So yeah, chat to me down there. And that is going to be it from me. Thank you again. Bye bye.